All the news that's fit to print, that's the motto of the New York Times. They run ads, anyone will pay them. Well, that's not quite always true. They'll run ads condemning the Catholic Church, but they won't have similar ads that are critical of radical Islam. Helping me to explain some news about this is our old friend Pamela Geller from New York City. Hey, Pamela, welcome back to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Ezra. Thank you for having me.
Now, let's talk about this new anti-Catholic ad that the New York Times ran, and then I want to compare that to an ad you wanted to run about radical Islam that the New York Times refused to accept your $39,000 for. Tell me about the ad that did run.
The ad that ran was an anti-Catholic ad. It ran last Friday, and it really was a very insulting ad. It said, you know, it's time to leave the Catholic Church, and then it went on to smear bishops, smear Catholic teachings. It was insulting. It wasn't based in any kind of truly scholarly. There was absolutely no substance to it. It was just an incredibly insulting, and it was a smear campaign. But, you know, freedom of speech, freedom of the press, so on and so forth. There was outrage by many organizations, Catholic organizations. When I saw the ad, I thought it was shocking. And so I took the exact same ad. It's the exact same template. It's the exact same text. And I just flipped the language. Whereas where it said Catholic, I used Islam. And I wasn't insulting as much as I was citing 18,560 Islamic attacks since 9/11. I was citing the punishment for apostasy under the Sharia is the death penalty. Only where I supplanted what was Catholic-related text to Islam-related text, and even in the cartoon that they ran a cartoon, you know, with an evil, you know, bishop, and I put in, you know, the blind sheikh instead of the evil bishop.
We just flipped between the two ads, so we've just been showing the ad that they ran attacking Catholics and the almost identical version. In fact, you'd have to look carefully to see that it was different. The layout was the same, the font was the same, it was the exact same thing. You just flipped it around. And tell me why they refused your money. So you really had the dough. You had the 39 grand in hand and you wanted to run this ad. What did they say?
The truth is, I won't say if I had the dough or not, because I knew they weren't going to run it. And I really did this to prove a point. This is self-enforcing Sharia. Under the Sharia, these are blasphemy laws. Do not offend, do not criticize Islam. I will say that Bob Christie, the senior vice president of communications at the New York Times, called me first. He clearly was seeking to make nice, I think. And he said, you know, I called to tell you that we accepted your ad. And I was like, wow, I was really very happy. I thought, well, you know, when all is said and done, at least they man up. He said, but we're not gonna run it. And I'm like, what? I mean, talk about twisted tongue speak.
Well, if
I don't even know how you get there.
What does it mean to accept the ad but not run it? Isn't that what accepting the ad
means? Yeah, they're not going to run it. He said, this is a bad time. We're going to review it in a few months. I said, what do you mean this is a bad time? Well, we don't want to put the troops in jeopardy.
We've got the exact quote. Let me read the quote. We've got it on a board here. Let's put it on the screen for our viewers to see it. Here it is. The fallout from running this ad now could put U.S. troops and or civilians in the region in danger. So that's what the New York Times said on March 13th. Now, this is exciting news to me, Pamela, because this is the first time the New York Times was ever showing any restraint whatsoever in the reporters. They've reported military secrets, secrets about how America fights terrorism, secrets about tactics to track down terrorists. They've countless pages on the Abu Ghraib, that all of this which not only jeopardizes American lives, but could be said to incite the Muslim world against our soldiers. So now, for the first time, the New York Times doesn't want to run an ad because it might hurt some feelings?
It's hypocrisy. It's cowardice. These are craven quislings. The idea that the newspaper that ran 32 consecutive front pages, listen to that, 32 consecutive front pages on Abu Ghraib, by the way, which was exposed via a Pentagon internal review. So we were policing ourselves, as egregious as it was. 32 front pages. What was the objective there? They cannot even take a stand. They cannot even say what they were doing.
You know,
and I think that this, yeah.
You know, it's a great point, because to self-censor, and that you called it self-imposed Sharia, you're so right, because saying, oh, we don't want to run these ads now, it might inflame things overseas, that's basically taking the terrorist argument and making it for them. You'd better not run those ads or we'll do a terrorist act. It's basically preempting the terrorists and say, oh, well, the terrorists will be violent, and so let's not let's not upset those easily upset terrorists. It's doing what they say before they even ask. I mean, the New York Times
Ezra.
response to threats should be the opposite, to say, well, keep running those ads no matter what.
Ezra, it is surrender. I mean, could you imagine if the press or the FDR administration said, well, we don't want to upset the Nazis, so we're not going to X, Y, and Z. You've surrendered. It's abject. I mean, let's encourage Islamic violence and thuggery and intimidation by capitulating to it, because you're encouraging this kind of behavior. Where is the civilizational self-esteem? Where is the freedom of the press? Where is the freedom of speech? I mean, if not now, when? It's not just the speech that we like, but it's the speech that we don't like. And I think that this really exposes the New York Times for what they are. Look at the two ads, and thank you very much for posting them. Some television stations don't want to put the ads up because they're offensive. Believe me, if there was no ad, if there was no Islam ad, they'd show that anti-Catholic ad.
Oh, just like they ran pictures of Piss Christ. Remember Piss Christ, that crucifix in a jar of urine? That was the cause célèbre by the liberal arts establishment. They wouldn't show the Danish cartoons. Pamela Geller, we're out of time. I'm so sorry we got to run, but we'll see you again on this show next. You keep fighting for freedom in New York, one of the capitals of the world that needs some help.